Thank you everyone for joining us today for our final training session of March, where we'll be covering new features. Great to see such a huge turnout today. So thank you everyone for taking the time out of your day to join our session. You will see me looking away from my screen from time to time. That's just as I manage the content across multiple screens. But let's get started. So just for some general housekeeping, if you have any questions about Astalty, whether that's processes, features, difficulties that you're having, or things that don't make sense, we'll take turns asking questions using the raise hand function in Google Meet or through the chat. This session is being recorded and will be uploaded to the user guide after the session. And if for some reason I don't know the answer to one of your questions, I'm happy to find that out for you and then email you after the session. Raising your hand. To use the raise your hand function, simply click on the highlighted option at the bottom of Google Meet, which looks like a little hand icon. I'll be able to see that you've raised your hand to ask a question, and then Google will lower the hand for you when you do start talking. If you no longer need to ask your question, you can just click on that button and that will lower your hand for you as well. Now, the chat option may be a better alternative for someone who may not want to ask the question verbally through the call. So you can do that by clicking on the messaging icon down the bottom right-hand side of Google Meet. I will have this open during the session. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them in that chat icon. And we've also got Simon on the call as well from our support team. So he'll be happy to jump in there and answer any questions that he can as well. All right, so upcoming dates. Now, we did have a plan for next Tuesday to run a session on creating group supports. However, following Easter and the start of school holidays, we have opted to cancel that session, and we will instead cover that during the session on the 14th of April, which will also be a session on staff payments. So enjoy the week off next week, guys. I hope everyone has a lovely long weekend, and we will regroup for our next training session on the 14th of April. On the 21st of April, we will have an Ask Me Anything session. So please feel free to bring as many questions as you can, and we'll be happy to answer any of those during that session. And then the final session for April will be a new features of all of the products or feature releases that have happened during the month of April. All right, so let's jump into the session today. Now, I did have every intention of showing you guys how to upload a record from the app now. However, my phone is not working and playing nicely with me today. So instead, I'll just give you a general overview of this recent feature release. So historically, users have not been able to upload records or self-serviceable records through the Support Worker app. We have now released an update which allows that to be carried out by the support worker themselves. So all they will need to do is navigate to their user profile, which is located at the bottom of the app, the little person icon. And from that page, they will be to see records that are requiring attention. When they click into this, they will be able to open up those relevant records, and they'll have an option to take a photo, choose from the gallery, or choose a file within their device to upload that record, which will then push through to your team. And for those that do require verification, you'll be able to see those within the user's records. So this is just improving that workflow, saving a little bit of time for your admin staff or your HR staff, so they're not having to upload documents from emails, and allows the support worker to have autonomy over uploading those records themselves. So just a great way to improve that workflow for your support workers and your admin team. Now, moving on to the next section, we do also have, and so I'm just referring to my notes here, we also now have the ability to sort records by their columns. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. So we're going to open up and have a look at some user records, and I'll just jump in here. This is all fictional data, by the way, so none of the information that you're seeing displayed today is of real participants or real users, just to keep that anonymity safe for everyone. So if we jump into Sally Jones' profile here, so this is one of our team members within the platform. Sorry, just doing a quick refresh there. When we go into Sally's records, we can sort the record by its name. and also by expiry date. So if you had multiple records that you were looking at for your support workers and you wanted to sort by expiry date, you now have that option within the user records as well. So that just streamlines that process a little bit for you as well. All right, so user notes is something that has been of interest to a lot of organizations, and that's storing content relating to your support staff. Now, these notes are not visible to the support worker. They are only accessible by those with the HR permission within their user profile settings. So this would be for admin users predominantly. So this allows you to capture any notes that may be relevant to your support workers, and you simply navigate to notes within the user's profile and click on Add Note, where you can type in any relevant information. You can also create note templates for these user notes, which allows you to capture specific data relating to your staff when necessary. So that's just another feature that's been released recently. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to bring up is within the HR and payroll details here, and I'm unfortunately not connected to a Xero account at the moment, but if we have a look at the user's contract, if you have Xero integrated, you will now also get an icon that appears at the top right-hand side of your contracts to pre-fill data from Xero. So this will come across with the start date that's been entered in Xero, as well as the employment basis, which you can see here. So this is just helpful to improve that workflow again if you are setting up multiple users for the Xero payroll integration. And if that's something that you are interested in exploring, please send an email through to us at support@astalty.com.au, and we can arrange to provide you with an onboarding session to run through the setup for that for you as well. All right, moving on to a big one that has been asked by lots of users is the ability to clone tasks or duplicate a task. So we now have this function within Astalty where if you navigate to a task, say for instance, we have this support here where we needed to organize supports for a new client, we can now click on actions and we can clone this task. Now, it's important to note that the information that comes across here does not contain any case notes, nor will it contain any documents that were associated with the original task itself. What will come across is the name of the task, the date that the task was carried out, the participant, the team member who completed the task, the primary charge item that was associated with it, as well as the duration. You'll also see that its billable status is captured, as well as whether or not it was completed. Now, if you did have any additional charges for this support, they would also be displayed within the additional charges section at the bottom of this form. At this stage, you can also go in here and add any additional charges. If you know, for example, that you will be visiting this client and need to include kilometres and one of those charge items has been generated in your settings, you can simply add that charge here and predefine those kilometres in preparation for that task. Now, you can also then change the date of this task to a date in the future. And if you wanted to, you can also apply any note templates that you may have set up for tasks as well. You may want to put a progress note in there, for example. So this is just a great way to create new tasks from an existing task and capture those relevant details for like the date, the charge items, and the participant details themselves. Once everything is set up as intended, you simply click on Create Task. And this will now generate in our task list for the 2nd of April. And if we scroll down, we will see that that has now been generated there as well. So that just improves that workflow yet again for your team. Does anyone have any questions on that so far? No worries. We will keep moving. So the next thing, and in keeping with tasks, is the ability to set a character count for case notes for your support workers. Now, to do that, we'll navigate to our settings menu and we're going to go to scheduling and we'll click on edit. We can scroll down to our notes section. Now, we can now set a minimum character count for those notes. So if you have a requirement for your support staff to produce a minimum of 150 characters in their case notes, all you'll need to do is enter that in here and click update. And when your support staff use their app and generate a case note for a support that they've completed, they will actually see whether or not they have met that character limit, identified by a red icon down the bottom of the app, and they will be able to ensure that they are completing the relevant character limits when they are completing those case notes. So that is a recent update as well that's come through. Alrighty, so let's move on to some information in scheduling. Now, we did cover some of this recently during the exclusive training session that was carried out last Thursday. For those of you who did attend, we went over scheduling award alerts. So let's jump in and have a look at how that appears. Now, scheduling award alerts alert users to compliance issues or opportunities where you can potentially save money by not scheduling staff onto shifts where it's going to accrue broken shift allowance, overtime, or things such as that. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at our unassigned shifts, and we'll click into this support here. When we scroll down to have a look at the support workers that we can assign to this support, we'll see here that we have award alerts displaying on the screen. Now, in this instance, we have a support worker who is a permanent support worker, and in order to make sure that we're not causing any issues with the pay guide, we need to make sure that they have sufficient days off. So Astalty is alerting us that if we were to assign this support worker to this shift, that they would have insufficient days off for that week or fortnight. We'll have a look at this one here. Again, they're all insufficient days off. So we might just go back and have a look at another support. We'll keep trying until we find one that has some additional support types. Alert types. So this one here, for example, we have a minimum engagement. This shift is only an hour long. So it's identifying that in your shift alerts to let you know that you're not meeting that requirement of 2 hours. We are also going into overtime for this support worker as well. So by assigning this shift to the support worker, it's going to exceed the 12-hour spread of support hours and push them into overtime. So it's just a great way of alerting your scheduling team to any opportunities to save money for your organization, but also make sure that you're selecting the right user for the support as well. Does anyone have any questions on those shift alerts? No? Awesome. Okay. Now, the next thing about these alerts is that you can set tolerances for these as well. So you can warn only, or you can prevent assignment if one of those alerts does appear. So to do that, we'll go back into our settings and back into scheduling. We'll click on edit here, and we'll scroll down to our smart award alerts. So you may choose to only want to warn if you're going to exceed shift duration or broken shifts, but if fatigue management or overtime caps are something that you do not want to engage in, you can select from these drop-down options and prevent selection in the support. So this will ensure that you are not able to select that support worker if that alert is present for them on that particular shift. So this is a great function to prevent incorrect assignment of support workers to shifts. I'll just go ahead and click update, and we'll go back and just have a look at how that appears in those unassigned shifts. I think it was this one here. So we can now see that the award alert selection is blocked because this overtime has been set up as a prevent selection in your scheduling settings. So it just ensures that your schedulers are not accidentally assigning support workers where they shouldn't. Any questions about that? No? Awesome. All right, we'll keep moving on then. So let's go and have a look at the shift clashes report. This is a great report to identify areas that need to be addressed. And I might just zoom out a little bit just so that you can see everything on the screen there. This shift clashes report has had a major overhaul in the last week. So this is a really exciting time to be sharing this with you guys. I did also run through this in the training session last week as well. But effectively, your shift clashes report identifies any instances where a shift either overlaps or there is a issue with a leave period during that shift, or shifts are back to back with no time for travel for the support worker to get between those supports. So this is identified in the report by red icons where it's a shift clash and there is an overlap or a leave period during that support. And for supports that are back to back with no window of time for travel, they are identified with an orange icon. And unfortunately, it looks like I don't have any to share with you guys at this stage. Apologies for that. Let's just see if there's any in here. No. Okay, so I'll show you how this looks for a support where the shift overlaps with another. So if you click into the support, we can see here that the first shift flows into the second shift, and obviously the support worker cannot be in both supports at the same time. So you can easily unassign them from one of these supports by clicking on the three dots to the right-hand side, and you can click on View this support, which is the support listed in the shift details section here, or you can click on the View clashing support, which is the support identified in this column here. We'll open up the clashing support, and to the right-hand side of the support worker, we simply click on the three dots and unassign the support worker from this shift. Now we can select to unassign them just from this single shift or shifts in the future as well that would be impacted. And we can say that this is a double booking or any other reason for unassigning that shift. And by clicking unassign shifts, they'll be removed from your shift clashes report, and those shifts will move back into your unassigned shifts for you to reallocate to another support worker. Your leave periods are also displayed with the two separate bar graphs. So you'll see your support identified in blue and leave periods identified in green, just to let you know that the travel time in this instance is cutting into the support worker's leave period. So it just gives you that opportunity to make those adjustments before they become an issue for your team. Any questions at all on that one? I can see we've got a question here in the chat. Are you able to override the prevent selection function just in case we have anyone for the shift and have to proceed with paying this? Yeah, so you can definitely do that. The way to manage that would be to jump back into your settings and change that selection from prevent selection to warn only, which will allow you to select that support worker. It would just be necessary for you to jump back in after that support has been added and reapply that prevent selection. So a little bit of a workaround there in order to make that work, but there is that possibility. So anyone with that admin privilege can go in and make that change. Does that answer your question okay there, Sydney? Awesome, fantastic. Alrighty, let's keep moving on. Now, shift alerts is also something that can create a little bit of a pain point for some organizations. Now, shift alerts is something that needs to be processed prior to completing your pay runs. By completing your shift alerts, you'll then find that those shifts move into shift approvals, where you can process the time for the support as well as any travel that has been carried out during that session. And that allows you to invoice and process your payroll. Now, historically, shift alerts have only been accessible through the shift alerts menu here. However, we have made some changes on the shift approvals page, which alerts you to any outstanding shift alerts that need to be processed for the date range that is selected. And you can see that by this red banner here, which also provides you with a quick link to navigate to those shift alerts to make any relevant changes, which you can see here. So that just makes that process a little bit easier to navigate when it does come time for shift approvals. Any questions at all on that one? Awesome. All righty. So something else that has popped up is accidental shift approvals, and how can you resolve those so that you can push them back into the shift approvals process. So previously, the only way to make adjustments was to use the edit icon and update the hours or the kilometers manually, but the shift approvals still stayed within the reviewed status. So we now have the option to delete elements of a shift approval, including the start and finish times, which you can simply click on the delete approval button next to the edit icon. You can also do the same for your travel, and for any active overnight periods that may be displayed as well. Active overnight periods is currently in beta, and I will go over that shortly. So if you do have supports that you're delivering for sleepovers overnight and do find that active overnights form part of those shifts, definitely reach out to us and we can switch that beta testing on for you as well. But if you wanted to delete the entire approval, so we can see for this shift here for John Smith on the 30th of the 3rd, we actually want to delete this approval. So let's go ahead and click on this option here and delete the approval. Oh, that's already got invoice charges. So if there is any invoices on this support, you won't be able to delete the approvals. If you had an invoice, then by pressing delete all, this would then show up in your shift approvals to be reactioned. I will just see if we can try that with this one here for John Doe. All right, beautiful. And so now that has pushed us back to the shift approvals page, and we can see here that we now have this shift to reapprove. So we can go in here, approve those hours, and we might want to override them with the scheduled time instead. We can go ahead and approve. And now that's moved back into the approval status. So that just helps to, I guess, make it a little bit easier if you do have those accidental instances where an approval is processed. You can now remove that from the system and restart that approval process again. All right, let's have a talk about active overnight periods. So like I said, this is something that is in beta testing at the moment, and we'll have a look at this support here, for example. Now we can see that this has been selected as a nighttime sleepover support when it was created, and we have 2 active overnight periods which have been created during this support. Now the support workers have the ability within their app, with this beta testing switched on, to be able to record an active overnight period from within the support itself. Now, because my phone is not working, I'm so sorry I'm not able to show you exactly how that appears to them. But if you click on these active overnight periods, you'll be able to see the content that the support worker has entered during their shift, which includes the start and finish times of the awake periods, the duration, a reason, and any evidence which may have been uploaded. And that may be a photo or a document that's been provided, such as like a hospital discharge form. You can also add active overnight periods on behalf of your staff as well, simply by clicking on the Add Active Overnight Period button here. And that will give you the opportunity to enter in the start and finish times, the reason for the disturbance, and any evidence. You can also, by closing out of here, click on the 3 dots to the right-hand side of the support workers shift. And within this section as well, you can also add your active overnight periods as well. Now, I will just quickly have a look. I may be able to show you exactly how that does appear for the support workers. In our user guide, we do have some information on this process, which you can access through the support at the top of your Astalty browser. You'll see you've got your support button and your user guide button. If you click on the user guide button, it will direct you to our user guide manual, which you can search through for active overnight periods. Now, I'm just bringing this up. Bear with me. Sorry, guys. Fantastic. I have got the right one here. Okay, so for a support worker, they'll come into their shift and they can see this active overnights periods here. I'll just make this a little bit bigger. By tapping on active overnight periods, they can then add a period of activity by clicking on the button. And then they can confirm the start time of that support. They can set the end time if they know that they're going to be finishing that active overnight by a certain stage of the evening or morning. Add their reason in and add evidence, and then add the period. Now, this period will show as in progress if no finish time has been selected. And they can tap back into it to make any changes if they need to, simply by clicking on the relevant active overnight period. Okay. So they will also have the option to select the duration preset. So if it is only going to be an hour of awake time or 2 hours of awake time, those presets will also appear for the support workers when they go in to edit that period. The important thing to know is that active overnight periods realistically should be recorded as they occur during that shift. So if your support workers can process that at the time of the awake period commencing, that is best. They will also be notified when they go to clock out if they haven't closed off an active overnight period. So as a scheduler, you do have the ability to come in and adjust those times for them on their behalf if they have failed to check out of that active overnight period effectively. But this will prompt them to make sure that they are addressing that before they close out of their shift. So if you want to have a look at that, you'll find that in the user guide under adding an active overnight period in the app. If you do have any questions at all, please reach out to our support team and we'll be happy to share that with your team and turn that feature on for beta testing. All right. Any questions at all on that one at the moment? All righty. Let's now have a look at cloning and extending supports. So we previously were not able to extend activities. We have now created the flexibility to do this. So if you go to your activities and select an activity from that list, when you click on actions, you will now be able to clone or extend the activity. This is a great option if you've been trialing an activity such as like a support group, and you want to now extend that beyond its current end date because it's having great success. So click on extend activity, and in here you'll be able to select a new end date from the date range selector, and you may choose to extend for another 6 months, for example. Select the relevant date and extend the support. And once that has worked its magic, you'll then see all of those supports extended through to that end date. I might just need to refresh. We've got a lot of activity happening in our developers landscape, so it may just be that we are having some delays there. Bear with me for a second. All right, let's extend for 1 month. We'll go 1 year. Okay, sorry guys, that is not working in the demo landscape, but you should be able to see that working within your own live platforms. So if you do choose to use that feature, definitely let us know if you have any problems. It should all be working. As I said, the demo landscape is slightly different to your live landscape. So what it will do is it will show you those supports right through to the end of that date selection. So I will just refresh and see if it does appear here now. And it has. So we can see now that we've extended out for quite some time. You can scroll through those pages to see where that support then finishes up. And we've got the 28th of November here as our final date. You can also extend supports within the schedule as well. So any recurring supports that you have created, let's have a look and see if we can find one. This one here. So if we go to actions and extend support, we can now extend this one out for another 6 months as well. And that one's part of that activity. So any supports that are recurring supports of an individual participant or group can be extended through this method as well. Plan extensions is actually something, so you're talking about extending the actual plan itself, or is that, okay, yeah. So at the moment, yeah, your workaround is to go in and edit and end that plan date in the future. You can, and we have had questions about this for the supports themselves as well, about adding in an option when we click on extend here in this date range selection to have the plan end date. So if you have updated the plan end date, having that option in here as well. So when you create a support, you can choose the end date as the end of the plan, but it's not there currently when you're extending those supports. So that is something that our team are looking into as well. But yeah, I think being able to maybe change the process for extending a plan would be great. So Joe, if you wanted to send through a request to support, we can definitely put that through as a feature request as well. Awesome. All right. I will just also touch on the shift cloning. So when you clone a support, we will also now include any documents that have been included in that support as well. So whether that be, you'll see in the participant details, you have the documents tab. If a document has been included in a support, now when cloning, that document will also come through as well for all future supports that you are generating too. So just to reduce any unnecessary admin time in uploading those documents to the relevant support. Okay, you can also add participants after a group support has ended. So this is something that previously was not possible. And I will just try and find this one. For example, here we have a creative skills group. you wouldn't be able to add a participant once the support has finished. We can now do that by opening up the Finish Support and clicking Add Participant and select your relevant participant from the drop-down menu. This will then automatically update each of the ratios within the support. We're having some issues there. What it will do is it will add the participant to the support, and the ratios will be displayed in the finance to match how many participants are within that support as well. So previously it was a 1 to 5. It's now displaying as a 1 to 6 ratio as well. So this is bearing in mind that these are automatic charges, and so those automatic elements are being picked up in this support as well. Any questions at all on that? No? Beautiful. Okay. Alrighty, so we may just have a quick look at e-signatures. So I'll jump into a different instance here. All right, so we're going to go in and have a look at this participant here, and we want to create an e-signature for this participant. So we'll jump into their records, and we are going to open up this service agreement that's yet to be sent, and we'll send this for signing. Now, what we have here in the form is the option to remind the signer to complete this document. Now, for some reason, and I'm sorry, it's not displaying correctly here, might just go out to our e-signatures and we'll generate a new request. You can see down the bottom here that we have send automatic reminders. So by selecting this option within the e-signatures function, the recipient of that e-signature request will be reminded after 24 hours, 72 hours, and 1 week after the document has remained unsigned. So it just sends out those automatic prompts to them to make sure that those documents are being completed. This is something that we have had feedback from users where they've found that their e-signature requests have just sat pending for an extended period of time and unfortunately have expired. So this is just a great option, and we would encourage you to use this to just make sure that your documents are getting completed in a timely manner. Do we have any other questions on e-signatures that I can cover for you guys today? No? Okay, cool. All right, so there has been a lot of movement that we have seen through our support inbox for having auditors have access to your Astalty account. So we now have the ability to add a user as an auditor role. So to do that, we'll scroll down to our users section in the main menu, and we can go ahead and click on invite user. Previously, you would have only had the option between standard and support worker, but you'll now have the option to create a user as an auditor. So these users will be automatically deactivated after 14 days, and the user will only have read-only access and be able to see assigned participants. So just as you would do with your team members where you assign them as a service coordinator and they can only see their own participants based on their permissions, the same effectively applies for your auditors. Their email address will be updated to auditor plus UUID at domain after their 14 days has completed, so the user will not be able to access your account following that deactivation. Now, we'll just have a look at one of our auditor profiles here. And what we have the ability to do is navigate to the participants tab, and we can assign participants to them so they can review those records themselves. So let's add in a participant. We'll add in a couple and update. So this auditor will now have access to records and information for these 3 participants here. We did also just release the ability to assign user records to the auditor as well. So this may be to review compliance for your staff, such as they're working with children checks or police clearances. And you can do that again, following the same process by clicking update and selecting the relevant users from the list within. And we'll click update. Now, what I'll do as well, I will just log in and show you how that looks from the auditor's perspective. Oh, sorry. Just bear with me for a second, guys. Sorry. Okay, beautiful. That is now working. Lovely. Okay, so everyone can see that okay again now? Awesome. All right, so we can see those 3 participants have been listed in the auditor's profile. So from within here, and again, read-only access, they can open up and view participant information. They can see any tasks that are related to that participant. They can also review any records that have been generated for the participant as well. So in this instance, we'll go to records here, and they can see the conflict of interest form, emergency response plan, and medication list for these participants. They can open up and view the documents within, which just allows for that compliance to be easily managed during those auditing processes. If we go back and have a look at users, they can see your support staff or your team members that are within your account. They can click into those records and they can see any documents that are related to that support worker, any records, and their HR and payroll details. So this just makes that auditing process a whole lot easier. Previously, you did have to reach out to support and we would apply a credit to you so that you could create a user profile for them. This just makes it a lot more easy to manage individually for yourselves now without having to seek support from our team as well. By all means, though, if you do have any questions, always reach out to us. We're more than happy to help. We do have a user guide that covers this process as well, which you'll find by clicking on the user guide button at the top of your Astalty browser. But yeah, as I said, any questions, definitely reach out and we will be happy to assist. I will also just show you guys, we'll log out of this instance and we'll go back into our admin, and we're going to have a look at our waitlist feature. So we'll jump into our referrals. And in here, we've got a new referral for a participant that we haven't created yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to update the status to update under review. And we're now going to move this participant to our waitlist. So we'll click on this waitlist option. And this referral has now left our referral space and has moved into the waitlist. So we can see Stella is our participant in this instance, but we haven't created a profile for her yet. So we'll click on Actions and create a new participant. When we click on this option here, we'll now be able to go to her profile and we'll see that next to this active status, we now have waitlist. Now this will only apply in instances where you have added the referral to the waitlist first and then created a new participant. By adding a waitlist to an existing client, this tag won't display, but this is just an easy reference for you when you're navigating through profiles to be able to see that status as well. And once you've updated that referral to accepted or declined, this waitlist tag will remove from their profile as well. Okay, the next thing I will show you as well is the update to making changes to an NDIS plan and who is notified during that process. So if we jump into Avis's plan here and we click on edit, you'll now see that we have the option to notify the primary coordinator and the service coordinators of any changes to this plan. So if we were to update the end date, say for another 12 months, and we'll update, we can notify the primary coordinator and the service coordinators of this change. And when we click on update, they'll receive that as an email, which will identify those changes within the email and also provide them a direct link to come and view the NDIS plan as well. So they'll also see that notification appear up here in their notification window. But that just makes it a lot easier for transparency if any changes are being applied to those plan dates. Alrighty, let's have a look at our incidents then. So within the incidents table, we have the ability to see the assignee, and we also have the ability to see involvees. So your involvees you'll see by hovering over the icon to display how many there are, and you can navigate directly to the participant from the no, you can't. Sorry, my apologies. it will take you into the incident itself, but you can also search by the participant's name as well. So let's type in Herman, and the results on that table will only display incidents that relate to that participant. So previously that wasn't a feature that we had. We have now made that change as well. So that just makes searching for your incidents a whole lot easier and more time saving for you as well. By having the assignee displayed here, it provides a quick reference to see who is responsible for this incident and managing it, and just helps to make sure that you're not having to sift through and open up all of your incidents to see who is assigned. We'll jump into our scheduling again just for a moment, and we're going to have a look at our shift board. Now, previously with your shifts, now you may not have shift board enabled on your account. If it's something that you're interested in, by all means reach out to us and we can switch that on for you. This is in beta at the moment, but the shift board effectively broadcasts shifts for your support staff to show their interest or express interest in those shifts, allowing your support staff, your scheduled staffs to assign an appropriate support worker based on their level of interest. So if you have broadcasted a support and no longer need to do that, you can click on this actions button here and archive the broadcast. So you may have assigned a support worker to this particular shift outside of the broadcasting arrangement. By archiving the shift from here, the support workers will no longer be able to see this within their shift board, ensuring that only relevant supports are visible to them when they are exploring opportunities within the shift board in their app. Okay, so let's jump into something else that has been of interest as well, and that is our tagging system. So within our participant profiles, and this is the same for your plan managers and your organization contacts, is the ability to assign a custom color to your tags. So for those who have keen interest in aesthetics and want to make sure that their tags look a certain way, you can now jump in here and you can make changes to your colors by clicking on the plus icon down here in the color selector. You'll have the ability to add your colors by RGB, HSL, or hex code, allowing you to, I guess, customize and personalize your tagging system to your preferences. So just a fun little update, but does allow you to select multiple colors, because obviously we only have a set number available. So this does also limit if you have quite a substantial number of tags, allows you to set multiple colors so that it's clearly identifiable, the differences between those. Okay, the other thing that we'll cover is default content in your information items. So we'll jump into settings and we'll go into our participants tab and we'll have a look at our information items. So previously you'd be able to create an information item heading. We now have the ability to create an information item with a template in there for the default content. So if you've created a note, an information item note template, like participant information item note here, you can now preset this so that when this information item appears in a participant's profile, not only does the information item appear with the heading, but the content is also predefined, ready to go for your staff to come in and populate any other relevant data. So just making life a little bit easier for everyone and ensuring that the relevant information is captured within those information items. All right, we'll also just have a quick look at some reporting functions for goals within a participant's profile. So let's have a look at Colt, and hopefully we've got some goals in here. We do. All right, so we now have the ability within our goals to be able to export these details. We'll click on download as PDF, and goals will display with the status, the type of goal that they are, and the description, achievement, and barrier details that you've entered. So this just helps when you're sharing this information, and it may be during reporting periods. You can easily access this information and share with your stakeholders. I do have a question here from Astrid. I've noticed that I cannot add a person onto a shift if they are not a support worker. In our company, sometimes people like myself from the office fill the shifts. Is there a way we can either assign multiple roles to a staff member or a setting to roster anyone, not just a support worker? Absolutely, you can certainly do that. Let's run through that now. We'll go to the Users tab in the main menu. And if you navigate to someone who has an admin, team member, or manager role, we'll open their profile up. We'll go down to Permissions. And in here, you can see we've got a scheduling option here. If you click on this, you can enable this user to be scheduled on for supports. So you don't have to have a secondary account set up for them as a support worker. You can simply update their permissions within their profile, and Ada will now appear on our scheduling for support. So we'll jump in and just make sure that that is the case. We'll go to scheduling, and under support worker, we can now see that Ada is appearing and can be scheduled for supports. I hope that answers your question, Astrid. No problems at all. You're very welcome. All right. Well, that's everything that I had to show you for today. So what we might do is just jump back into our presentation, and I'll open the floor up for any questions. If anyone has anything else that they would like to ask, now's your opportunity. Either raise your hand or you can type your question into the chat feature. All right. I guess we've covered a fair bit of content today, guys. So if you do have any questions that you do need answered, by all means, just reach out to us. We'll be happy to cover that in more detail. But we will be posting this video online after the session as well. So any of that content that you want to revisit, you'll be able to see through the user guide. I will just jump into one more thing as well. So new this week is the ability to see task invoice statuses within the participant's profile. So this is a really cool feature, allowing you to see the state of the task itself. So previously, you wouldn't be able to see whether a task had been invoiced until you actually open the task up, and you'll see that it's grayed out. You'll now be able to set a filter within the task itself and apply an invoice status to that one. And you can then sort by invoiced, not invoiced, or partially invoiced. It proves visibility of outstanding billing to identify tasks requiring action. And we'll also include a guide link in the training recording that goes up hopefully later today or tomorrow with the guide details on that as well. But we'll cover that in new features at the end of the month of April. If you have any questions on that, definitely yell out. I'm more than happy to run through that in more detail with you. So let's stay in touch. If you have any questions, ideas, or you want to continue the conversation, feel free to reach out to us at support@astalty.com.au or click on the support button at the top of your Astalty browser, and we'll be happy to assist you. Our response time is usually under 45 minutes, so definitely don't hesitate to ask questions. There are no silly questions, and we are more than happy to assist wherever we can. If you're on LinkedIn, you can scan the QR code below to connect in with Kian. He is active in that space. So if you're looking for regular updates, we do encourage you to follow him on that platform. But thank you everyone so much for joining us today. I hope you all have an amazing long weekend, and we look forward to seeing you all again on the 14th of April, where we'll cover group supports and staff payments. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kimberly.